This is Wrestling Reverb, and now your host, Josh Robinson.
Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of Wrestling Reverb. What an exciting time to be a wrestling fan. What an incredible 4 days of wrestling. I feel like this was one of the best 4 days in recent memory. Just 4 pure straight days of great wrestling. Great wrestling television, some moments, some great matches. Of course, I've discussed both NXT and SummerSlam in the latest 2 episodes of Wrestling Reverb. But man, Raw and Smackdown really delivered some great matches, some great moments. Let's get right into it because we've got a lot of ground to cover today. First and foremost, Raw opening it up with the brand new Universal Champion Roman Reigns. As always, a very mixed to heavy boo reaction for Roman Reigns, especially in a place like Brooklyn. He comes out and basically says someone is overdue for a WWE Universal Championship match. That man is Finn Balor. Comes out, monstrous reaction for Finn, as per usual. Baron Corbin tries to deter this. Kurt Angle basically tells him to fuck off. And Baron ends up going in a match with Bobby Lashley. Now, out of everything that happened on Raw and SmackDown, this was an unnecessarily long match. But the crowd certainly let them know that they were not really that pleasant on seeing this match. But it was fine. Lashley went over. Another loss for Corbin. Doesn't really mean much. He is still the Constable. He's on that television show more than any other talent, really. We go in, and Paul Heyman is there to a monstrous reaction. A backstage segment with the general manager, Kurt Angle, and he basically says he wants his rematch. His client wants his rematch at Hell in a Cell, and Kurt said it's going to be a long, long, long time before Lesnar gets his rematch. To a big reaction from the audience. Angle walks off. Heyman walks off. That's that. That just kind of puts that to rest for a little while. We go into a 6-woman tag. The Riott Squad taking on Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Ember Moon. Big reaction for Sasha. A fairly big reaction for Bayley. But not a huge reaction for Ember. I think there's a little disconnect with Ember. I think I have seen this pretty much since she came in. I am in kind of the boat that Ember Moon is good. She has an incredible finish, but she's very boring character-wise. She's not a great talker. She just kind of exists on Raw. She's not really doing anything that's really incredible. She was not the star of this match. The crowd were generally more behind Banks than anyone else. I've talked about how I do value the Riots, especially on Raw. I do value the Riots. So, me personally thought this was a good showcase for them. Now, I've talked about the Bayley Banks deal a lot over the last few weeks, and how I am a fan of it, but this kind of stuff with the Riots is going nowhere fast, and it is just the same thing in a slightly different package every week. It seems like Sasha Banks and Bayley, and to a certain degree with the exception of last week, that Sasha Banks and Ember are only allowed to fight the Riots on Raw. And every week it just seems to be... I don't even know how to describe it. It's just the same every week. It's just the same thing presented slightly different. Ruby went over again on Banks. It was a good match. I enjoyed it. Didn't go for too long. It just doesn't really mean much, it seems. But we'll see where it heads. Hopefully they do something a little later, a little different. hopefully it leads somewhere. That's what I'm trying to kind of get at. But so we head in, and Triple H is here, and he's hyping the Super Showdown, which is basically it's a little over 6 weeks away. So it's getting close. It's the pay-per-view after Hell in a Cell. There's actually been, I'm actually reading right now, there's been some matches announced for the Super Showdown. So, of course, Triple H, as he was hyping The Undertaker and him one-on-one, one final time. We've actually been announced The Shield will be in action. We're going to have John Cena and Bobby Lashley versus Kevin Owens and Elias. And this one, which I'm really excited about, it's going to be Daniel Bryan and The Miz, with the winner getting an opportunity at the WWE Championship. A lot of people think that the Super Showdown is going to be a glorified house show similar to the Greatest Royal Rumble. I'm on the boat that it's not, only because it's the last main pay-per-view, aside from Evolution, but that's an all-women's event. It's the last main pay-per-view where everyone is on before Survivor Series at the end of November. So there's going to be, if they're going to put anything on in a main way, it's going to be at Super Showdown. So I am a little biased because I am going and stuff like that, but I do think it's going to be a big deal. Case in point, Miz Bryan, number one contendership. So yeah, there's going to be a couple of random tag matches, but I think for the most part, it's going to be a big show. But not to stick on Super Showdown too much, it was a great promo from Triple H. Made sense. Getting everyone more hyped that, you know, isn't going to the show, just to give them an incentive to watch on the network. Because all of you Americans and Canadians, and you're going to have to watch wrestling in the morning like us Australians do every single week and every pay-per-view or whatever. So it'll be different for you guys to watch something at, 10 a.m. or whenever time roughly it'll be on. I think it's 6 p.m. Melbourne time. So, yeah, great stuff. We head into Dean Ambrose and Dolph Ziggler. A huge reaction for Dean. First match back since, his 9-month hiatus with his injury. He goes in and has a great match with Dolph Ziggler. He is showcasing a lot of new moveset. He has a lot more in his arsenal. There's big brawls with Seth and Drew, and a beautiful pop-up Dirty Deeds. Great stuff. Very excited for Dean. I'll get into more why I'm excited for Dean and Seth a little later in the episode. But we'll move along. We have Elias. He plays some music. Out comes Curt Hawkins, and Curt wants a match with Elias. Elias basically tells him to go away. Curt demands a match, and we have our Elias Curtis Axel match. And Curt nearly wins right off the bat with a roll-up. He is something like 212 losses and 0 wins or something like that. The crowd was so behind Curt. I think if Curt Hawkins was on TV every single week, this could go somewhere, have him nearly win every single week. That moment where he would finally eventually win would be huge. I just think they need to be more consistent with him on Raw every single week. Nonetheless, it was a fun little match. Didn't go for very long, but it was fun. Backstage segment with Dana Brooke and Apollo Crews with Titus O'Neil walking up. It looks like they're teasing maybe a Titus worldwide breakup, and Dana and Apollo seem to be kind of sticking as a unit. I will see what happens. Another match with Authors of Pain. It seems like these two are only allowed to fight each other. It's been another case with similar to the Riotts and Bailey and Banks, is that it's going nowhere fast, and it's just kind of the same thing every week. Another AOP victory. They hit the last chapter on Cruz for the win. I don't like that finish. I think with the size and stature and, just the dominance they have in the ring, they could have a way better finish than that. But, whatever. Then we come back, and Ronda Rousey's championship kind of celebration presentation thing is happening. All of the Raw Women's division is surrounding the ring, along with Nikki and Brie Bella. I love that rumor of Nikki and Ronda. We'll see what happens there as we head towards Evolution. But there also, JoJo introduces the Raw Commissioner, Stephanie McMahon, and she comes out to loud boos as per usual. Rousey just basically says to Stephanie that she's not trying to break everyone's arm, only those who deserve it. She's kind of standing up for all the women before her, like Natty and Sasha and Bailey, whatever it may be. It's very odd to have Ronda stand up for these people, but I see what they're trying to do. They're trying to make Ronda the face of the women's division as the Raw Women's Champion. She ended up beating up Stephanie McMahon. It just kind of got Ronda on television this week. I think we probably go with Ronda versus Bliss at Hell in a Cell in some capacity. Bliss has a rematch, so yeah, it's fine. I think SummerSlam, looking back on it, I said in my recap show that I was fine with how Ronda beat Bliss, but I think it's kind of cut the momentum of Ronda this is the slightest little bit, because we built up to Rousey and Bliss so much, and then it happened in a 4-minute match with Bliss getting little to no offense. I just kind of think it wiped away any of that momentum it kind of had, and I don't think a rematch is really that exciting. Well, at least to me at the moment. I think it's just a little bit of stalling before we go into Evolution, but we'll see what happens. It could surprise me. We have 2 back-to-back single matches between Bo Dallas, Scott Dawson, and Dash Wilder and Curtis Axel. Revival go over in both cases. The crowd were taking over these matches. I think there was a beach ball at some stage. There was the wave, everything that you would expect from Brooklyn. And then we go into our main event, the WWE Universal Championship match. Finn Balor, Roman Reigns. An absolutely incredible match, as we've seen from these two in the past. The crowd were very anti-Roman, very pro-Finn, very ready for Finn. We get a huge Braun Strowman pop for the interruption. It looks like we're going to get a cash in. He comes out. Roman's about to hit the spear. Comes out. Braun kind of semi-distracts Roman to a certain degree. And shotgun drop kick into the corner. Finn goes up for the coup de grace. And then Roman gets out of the way. Spear 1, 2, 3. Roman retains the Universal Championship in a fantastic main event. Looks like Braun's about to cash in. He takes down Roman, gives that referee the briefcase. JoJo makes the announcement. Braun Strowman is cashing in just before the referee can ring the bell. We get a huge reaction and a huge return for the Shield. The Shield are back. The crowd is going bananas. They come in and they look to destroy Braun Strowman. All the standard Shield spots. They end up putting Braun through a table. The prospect of the Shield coming back. The crowd are going nuts, but there is that slight little mixed reaction. I just think it's because it's Braun and everyone kind of loves Braun. I think a lot of people were not happy with this. They were like, they're just trying to get Roman cheered and stuff like that. And whatever their reasoning be, we get a Shield reunion, so I'm not angry at all. Where does this lead? Personally, I think Hell in a Cell, Braun announces his cash-in against Roman inside the cell, and it keeps the Shield out. I think that's what happens, but we'll see what happens in the coming weeks. I'm very excited for all this. I think it was a great moment. It topped off Raw really well. I think if that moment wasn't on Raw, I don't think Raw would have been as good as, everyone kind of seems to be on the same boat that it was really good because of it. It was fun. Raw was really fun. Another good week for Raw. Some cool matches. The main event was incredible. I think WWE has a lot of momentum coming off of SummerSlam, and I think they just need to try and keep the ball rolling. That's the hardest thing with WWE is they have a lot of momentum. Sometimes they do the wrong thing that kind of deters it. We've got a little over 3 weeks until Hell in a Cell. So let's try and bottle this momentum and just get it towards Hell in a Cell so we can keep the ball rolling, because that is the problem. They have good events, and like I said, I think SummerSlam was the best event of the whole year. So I think trying to keep that momentum rolling is hard, but just don't throw your eggs in one basket in 1 week. Just try and slowly build these things to Hell in a Cell and make the cell matches mean something. I think we look towards Roman and Braun inside the cell. I think that'll be fun. We've seen Roman and Braun in the past, and they have killer matches. So it just, let's be thankful that the Universal Championship is going to be defended at every kind of event, because Brock's not the champion anymore. Speaking of Brock, who knows what happens with Brock? Obviously, he's going to go into the UFC and take on Daniel Cormier. So I think Brock does that for a little while. Does he pop up here and there in WWE? I think so. I think it's going to be more of a WWE will call you when we need you, Brock. I think that's going to be the kind of deal. I think Brock there is better than Brock not there. Just use him sparingly, use him when you absolutely have to, and don't put the championship on him. Then I'm happy. That's where we all kind of stand with Brock. Now, moving into what I think was probably the best show all weekend, just in terms of momentum and building stories and just fun, entertaining show. Let's start off with SmackDown, and you couldn't ask for a better opening segment. It's going to be... We knew it was going to be hard for The Miz and Bryan to keep going in a way because of the hype behind SummerSlam with the 8-year build. It was going to be hard to kind of top the momentum or just keep the momentum rolling if they decided to go further. But the great, word for word recreation of the retirement speech from The Miz, copying Daniel Bryan's retirement and his retirement from ever fighting Daniel Bryan again, was perfect. He had Maurice with him, which is always nice to see those two together. Just enhances The Miz. It even helps Maurice. So, I think that's great. Daniel Bryan comes out. Maurice starts going off on Bryan, calls him Daniel Bella, which leads to Brie Bella making her return to SmackDown Live and helping her husband Daniel Bryan and looking to go after Maurice, and ends up punching Miz in the face and just going off on Miz. And Bryan ends up taking out the Miz. We get a little bit of a stare down. Bryan grabs the microphone. And at Hell in a Cell, we are going to get Maurice and the Miz taking on Daniel Bryan and Brie Bella. This one I'm actually really looking forward to. I think it gives us an opportunity to keep the Bryan-Miz feud going without them having a singles match. You add in their wives for just that little bit extra oomph, And I think it's fun. I'm a Bella fan. I got a lot of kind of heat for that from a few people because just some people are so sour against the Bellas. I'm not one of those people, but I'm a fan of the Bellas. I always kind of have been. But it'll be fun to see that match. I think it'll be, just a way to get to the next step, which is obviously, as I said earlier, Miz Bryan #1 contendership. So it gets us to that. I think Bryan and Brie go over just for the fact that we even it out. But yeah, that was a fun segment to open up. It's just SmackDown is just on fire already as we go into Jeff Hardy, Randy Orton. We've been waiting for this for a long time. Just as we start to get going, Randy gets the ear again, and oh my god, and we get that again, and then it just kind of turns into a brawl from here. Jeff Hardy gets DQ'd for stomping on Randy Orton's balls, a la Randy Orton to Jeff. So, Jeff ends up going off on Orton, throws him over the announce table. He sends him into the steel ring post. He goes over the barrier. Fans are going crazy. Jeff grabs a chair and just starts beating the crap out of Randy. Puts him on the table out in the fans. Jumps off the ledge barricadey thing in the audience stand. Swanton bomb. Jeff looks to delete Randy Orton. I think this match happens inside the cell at Hell in a Cell. I think this is kind of the only thing Jeff really hasn't done. He's never been in a Hell in a Cell match, and I think it'll be fun. Jeff and Randy is always kind of fun at that kind of... He's just a better heel, obviously. But yeah, this will be fun. I'm really into this feud. I'm really into this rivalry. I'm really into Smackdown Live, everything that's kind of going on. We have a lot to cover on SmackDown. We got Becky Lynch to cover. We've got the SmackDown Tag Team Championships on the line in the main event. We got an AJ Styles interview. So we go into Naomi versus Peyton Royce. Nice, fun little match. Crowd very behind Naomi. Lots of iconic shenanigans as usual. It looks to be another just get them on TV match. Naomi hasn't been on TV in quite a little while, so it's fun to see her. She takes out Billie Kay, and it looks to be Naomi's day for a victory. But surprisingly, Peyton Royce with the Fisherman's Suplex, beautifully done, by the way, and it is their second victory in WWE since their main roster call-up. Peyton goes over. I am very excited. My Aussie girls getting a win. I'm excited to see them at Super Showdown. I'm sure they'll be nice and loved there. But yeah, after a wild week for Peyton Royce with the very just awful comments that Dave Meltzer made against her and just stuff like that, everyone coming to rally for her. Nice little win for Peyton. We go into Becky Lynch. Now, everyone knows how much of a fan of Becky Lynch I am. She is my favorite human being in wrestling at the moment. I've always been a Becky Lynch fan. I've never been this hype and this keen on Becky Lynch since this come up, the last few months with her momentum building and stuff like that. I'm very excited for Becky Lynch. She does the, usual first promo after a heel turn kind of thing. Says, you didn't care about me. She hates Charlotte Flair. I said this on my SummerSlam recap. I don't know if they turned the wrong person. I think Charlotte fits more naturally into the heel role and Becky more organically into the babyface role. However, I'm still excited for this. It shows off a new side of Becky Lynch. It shows off a new dynamic to Becky versus Charlotte, because in the past, Charlotte turned on Becky, and we've seen that. So always something different. It was a great promo. Showed a lot of, no pun intended, fire. So much truth to it. The crowd did not boo her in one stage of this. Charlotte comes out to a very mixed reaction, more boos than cheers, with a few woos in there. They have a big, huge brawl, a very great segment. Paige comes out and sends out the rest of the women's division to break it up. They keep brawling. We go into a commercial break with them still brawling. So, man, oh man, I'm so excited for this feud. This is the women's championship feud we've been waiting for, especially on SmackDown since Carmella's gotten that title. I'm hoping we get Charlotte Becky inside the cell. I don't know if we will, but it certainly has enough animosity to go inside it. I just don't know if it's necessarily going to happen. But if it does, if we have a women's match inside the cell this year, that one deserves to go in it. I think we kind of saved the bigger matches for Evolution, but that would be so fun. I'm very excited for all of it. We come back and it's a rematch from SummerSlam. It's Almas and Vega versus Lana and Rusev. Fun little match, very similar to their SummerSlam match. It looks like Almas is going to cheat with a chair. Aiden English comes in, grabs the chair, and finally helps Rusev and Lana to win the match. He's got their back. That looks like we have a happy time in Rusev Day again. And Aiden gets a big reaction. Fun little match. So we have AJ Styles' interview with Renee Young. He comes out and he apologizes for his actions at SummerSlam. not ending in the way that he wanted it to, but he does not apologize for attacking Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe said some awful things about his family and about his wife and whatever it may be. Joe ends up attacking him, puts him in the coquette clutch, and, makes him go to sleep. He starts saying some creepy Wendy, AJ Styles' wife, and he said that AJ made a promise to tuck the kids into bed, but Daddy's already gone night-night. Like I said on my SummerSlam recap show, I was very wrong about this story, how I was not invested in this at all. I'm so invested in this. I'm so ready for this. Give me more of it. It's just going to be fun. It's just going to be a great story. Will we see this in the cell? Probably. Great stuff. Does Joe gain the championship from AJ Styles? I don't know. But it's fun. This story is really, really fun. Another great segment for AJ and Joe. Hats off to them. We go in from the break, and Paige is in her office. Carmella comes in. She wants the SmackDown Women's Championship rematch for next week. She gets it. However, R-Truth comes in and says Carmella's been ducking and hiding from him and he wants the match and blah, blah, blah. Just another great segment. I invite you to watch that segment if you haven't, because it was another funny segment after their one with R-Truth from a few weeks ago. But next week, Charlotte Carmella, SmackDown Women's Championship. Charlotte, I'm expecting, will go over. Becky Lynch will be involved in somehow just to set up Charlotte and Becky for the pay-per-view. So that'll be fun. We go into the SmackDown Tag Team Championship, no disqualification match. Bludgeon Brothers defending against the New Day. This was a friggin' really good match. It was just a fun, just a really, really fun match. I'm looking forward to the New Day. Well, when I seen this match, I was like, oh, with the reports of Rowan's injury, it looks like he's hurt his bicep or something like that. I was like, okay, so the New Day are probably going to go over in this match. Not mad at all. It was a fun match. It was really brutal. There was a lot of ladder spots and table spots, and it was just barricade breaking. It was a fun end to the week, to the 4 days. So, I think we go into New Day maybe fighting the Bar again or something like that, but brutal match. New Day go over. It's just fun. Just a fun match. I'm excited for everything. WWE, like I said earlier, has so much momentum going into Hell in a Cell now. They just got to try and bottle it and keep it going because it's hard sometimes. I wouldn't like to run a wrestling company because it would be difficult to try and please everybody. You can't please everybody, but for the most part, I've seen more positive than negatives to the last 4 days. So that's a good thing. I'm very excited for it all. It makes me proud to be watching wrestling when stuff like this happens on a consistent basis. So SmackDown has got more momentum than Raw, but Raw has really been, upping it up from their last, a few weeks ago. They had some really stinkers of shows, so I'm excited for all of this. I'm just excited. It's just a very big time for me personally watching wrestling as we head towards the MCG on October 6th, so I'm excited. I'm excited for the Mae Young Classic that starts next week. Bracketology's on next week, and then the week after the actual tournament begins. I'm excited for SmackDown Live moving forward. I'm excited for Raw moving forward with the Shield and whatever we may get out of that. And I'm just ready for Raw and SmackDown. I'm ready for Hell in a Cell. I'm ready for Super Showdown. I'm ready for the Mae Young Classic. I'm ready for Evolution. I'm ready for 2K19. I'm just ready for wrestling. It's just a great time to be a wrestling fan. And, that will kind of do it for this episode of Wrestling Reverb. We're all caught up. Big week. We can take a little bit of a breather as we head towards next week. We get a nice little 5-day break before wrestling starts again. So, all in soon. That's kind of exciting. I'm going to have some more stuff coming up regarding the Mae Young Classic next week with Bracketology. We're going to run down some matches. We're going to have a really fun time. I'm very excited to be doing this podcast. I finally found my kind of passion and stuff like that for something, so this keeps me moving forward every day, and I'm just really keen to keep you guys invested, keep me invested, and just love what I'm doing. So I just want to quickly say that last week I actually got for the first time into the US iTunes charts, and I was actually number 5 on the Australian Sports and Recreation podcast charts for iTunes as well. I've dropped low now, but that was such a high, and I'm over nearly 1,500 views on SoundCloud. I'm so many more on Spotify and YouTube and Spreaker and everything on iTunes, and I got approved for iHeartRadio. It's starting to kind of, this process has been slow, and then all of a sudden it just blew up, and I'm just so grateful and thankful for everyone who's listening and supporting. Keep them suggestions coming at me. Anytime you want to talk about wrestling, anytime you just want to talk to me on Twitter or my Facebook or my Instagram, please do. Couldn't be more happy. I'm thinking of doing some other kind of branches out of Wrestling Reverb. I'm going to start up a Twitch channel and stuff like that. Just kind of get this brand. I'll get my details out there as soon as I do that kind of stuff, because it's going to happen sooner rather than later. But I'm excited this fan base is building. I'm getting a lot more. I can feel it kind of building and stuff like that. So this is an exciting time for me. Just very thankful to everyone. Anyone who's been a consistent listener, thank you so much. Anytime you want to talk about wrestling, please, just Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Anytime, I'm all ears for wrestling. So just talk about this podcast, or you think you have some suggestions to make it better or some critiques, I'll take it all. I'm fine with all that kind of stuff. I just invite people to keep listening and stuff like that. Just anything you think will make the show better. I'm all ears. But that'll do it for this episode of Wrestling Reverb, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.
This is Wrestling